Okay, so it's been quite a while since I've done one of these videos, so apologies for the huge delay between episodes. As promised, today we're going to have a look at the NissanConnect EV unit in the centre of the car. So let's see what's what with that. Okay, so let's start with the NissanConnect EV system. So if we have a look, let's turn that down. So audio is obviously where your radio lives. You've got, well, I generally use either DAB or stuff on my phone through Apple Carplay, but you can use AM, FM, DAB. They all look pretty much the same. You get your presets along the bottom here and your station information there. I don't think I even programmed anything in for either of those, but we'll look at DAB. We've got your presets along the bottom. You've got several pages of these actually, so if I scroll across, you have up to 18 presets. Which is kind of handy, I guess, if you like jumping between stations a lot. I normally can't really be bothered messing with that while I'm driving, but if I hit this DAB menu and go to information, it will show you the information that's being broadcast by the current station. I'm going to hit this back button there. The back button in the top left, you can actually also hit this hardware back button over there. They both do pretty much the same thing. Also, although it is a touchscreen, you can actually use this rotary encoder to press the button, so I could go there, and if you center press that will also activate the button. So if you want that tactile feedback while driving, that can be kind of quite handy. If you have a look at the station list, obviously it will show you all of the DAB stations within range of where you are at the moment. If I hit that, no, do a screen full at a time. If you do the other buttons in between, it'll do like one notch at a time. So there's 75 stations near me, it reckons. You might see some duplicates if you're between two transmitters. That's not that unusual. If you want traffic alerts, you can obviously turn that on, and then there's some extra DAB settings which I don't entirely understand. I think RDS is to do with getting the text data about the what's playing and things, but I don't really know what most of the rest of those are. I'm sure if I googled it I could find out. If you're really interested, let me know and I'll go into that in a bit more detail. FM is pretty much the same deal. You do get a menu for FM. Again, you've got to control like traffic alerts and auto frequency change as you move between broadcast stations for some of the national networks. But if you've got DAB, you may as well use that because you've got a better selection of those stations basically. So if I go back to source and actually I'll go to USB iPod and we'll show. Oh yeah, I can't actually show you what's on my phone because I'm currently filming this video on it. That makes a lot of sense. But normally if you had CarPlay connected, obviously that would trigger up CarPlay, or if you had a USB stick full of MP3s, obviously it would trigger that as well. If I go back to source, obviously Bluetooth audio, if you've got a Bluetooth device connected, it will obviously pull the audio from that. As I have never bothered pairing Bluetooth, obviously that's not coming up for me. To be honest, if you've got Android Auto or Apple CarPlay support, there's absolutely zero point using Bluetooth. You may as well just plug in with a USB cable and get a much better experience. Aux will give you the ability to use the headphone jack style connector down there. So yeah, it's a standard mini jack connector that you get on headphones. Yeah, not really much more I can say about that. Obviously you've got gain settings, so if you've got a device that's not particularly strong in its output signal, I guess, but yeah, I'll put that back to DAB for now. One other thing is if you're wanting to program a radio station, if I just go to DAB menu and station information, let's say I wanted to say, let's find an interesting looking station. Let's say I wanted to say BBC Two, so I could tune to that station manually, and I could override this setting by just pressing and holding. It blips, and there you go. Now that's saved into that slot. So it's super easy to change presets. Phone, that entire screen is pretty much useless to me because I've not bothered pairing Bluetooth because you've got Apple CarPlay. CarPlay is so much better; it's not even worth considering. Information screens. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of information screens here. If we have a look at the zero emission ones first of all, and have a look at energy usage. This is the traditional screen from the previous Leaf. As I understand it, there used to be some tabs along the bottom on the old Leaf. They are definitely not here on this one. This is pretty much the only screen you've got. But you do have some other useful information. So if I go, let's go through nearby stations. It's hard to control the screen when you're looking through the phone at the screen because obviously my phone is in the way of me looking at the screen. But yeah, if I want to find nearby charging stations nearby, I can hit near current location, and it will just do a scan of its database to find charging stations that are within a few miles of here. There we go. So there are some nearby charging stations, including a very usefully named charging station. I'm not entirely sure which one that is. You can also do that by just scrolling around on the map and finding somewhere sort of near a specific place, or you can type in the name of a city centre. So let's say I'm going to Stockton, I can type in Stockton and it'll find that. There's also nearby charging availability. This doesn't seem to work with Charge Your Car, doesn't seem to work with Polar or any of the nearby charging stations around here, but perhaps in other areas that work, or maybe it's just not supported in the UK. I'm really not sure. Okay, so let's go to another section. We've got zero emission settings. You can turn on various warning messages, like the low battery charge warning, and the one that tells you that you might not make it on the current journey. You can kind of turn those on or off if they're annoying. You've got the ability for the car to send you email notifications as well. I must admit I've not really messed around with that, but I'm assuming it's exactly as it looks like it would be. You can hide the charging stations on the map if you really like living dangerously, or under other settings you've got the ability to automatically store a charging station when used. So let's say you get a home charging unit. The first time you use it, it will save it as a charging station, so it knows that there's a charging point at your house. If you then go and use, let's say a new charging station pops up the system doesn't know about, if you use it, it will record it. There's also plenty of stations that it doesn't actually know about, so it is worth leaving that on just to, over time obviously you'll use more and more of the stations around you, and its knowledge of what's around you will get better and better. Right, so let's have a look at driving range. So this one isn't golf related like the name might make it sound. What it actually does is the old circle screen from the previous Leaf. It shows you basically how far you can travel on a single charge. It takes quite a long time. Some of the screens on this unit are quite painfully slow. But one thing that I have noticed on here, which I didn't realise for quite some time, is you've got two little readouts down here, and I think, the white circle is basically how far you can go with motorway driving, and the grey circle is how far you can go with normal driving. Yeah, so this is kind of quite painfully slow. It's probably going to jump a whole bunch of screens now. But I think it was showing that, there you go, 44 miles I can do motorway with 64 kind of regular driving. So it's handy to get a quick rough and ready guide of how many motorway miles I think you can do. I'll have to look at that again when I've got a full battery, because I've only recently discovered that was there. It is quite slow, this unit compared to that screen, which is just so fast and very, very responsive. This one is it feels like using a phone from about 10 years ago, if I'm being totally honest. It's fine in the sat nav and stuff. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it can be painful sometimes. Anyway, let's go back to info. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons here. Okay, so let's go back to info, and you've got the ability there to update stations. Now what that'll do is, I'll do that. It'll run for
Connect to information center.
So that'll connect to the Nissan data center and pull down the list of charging stations near your location. So you don't have to worry about the unit getting out of date, because it'll constantly be able to pull updates. You can even schedule this in elsewhere on the system, which is quite handy. We'll give it a few seconds because it does take quite a while. 2 charging stations updated as well. But yeah, all the same, handy to know. NissanConnect EV, this will show you some kind of quite unusual information channels. So this kind of this is a bit weird. I can see why they've added it, but it's so slow I don't think anyone will use it. If I go to
Connect to information center.
So it's similar to kind of the drive stats you can get from the Nissan app, the Nissan mobile app, but it's presented in quite a sort of novel way. but it just looks kind of dated compared to the mobile app. We'll see what I mean when this loads in.
As of the 26th of March, your energy economy was 0.29 kilowatt-hours per mile. Based on the last 5 trips, your energy economy is good. You achieved a silver rank for the regional energy economy ranking on the 25th of March. Last month, your energy economy ranking was gold. To reach platinum rank, you need 0.28 kilowatt-hours per mile or lower for your average energy economy.
Okay, so it's it's a novel way to find out that information, I guess. Have it sort of read to you and presented with those kind of information screens.
Connect to Information Center.
Drive plan. I can't remember what this one is. I'm assuming one of them I think is the Google Sync and the Center car from Google. And I think the other one is the Nissan equivalent of that.
No route plan has been loaded.
Right, so I don't have anything saved for that. And for some reason I don't really want to pause that. Let me out. And Center car, that's the Google one, I think. And you can add new favorite
Connect to
channels.
Information Center.
Yeah. Anyway, you can also get more information channels by going and browsing the whole list. That was the kind of a favourites list before. There's really not that much more in here. You got the route planner, where you can pull the Nissan ones, the Google Maps, where you can pull the Google ones, and an ID check. Now, I don't think this is
Connect to Information Center.
for anyone other than Nissan staff, but yeah, let's see how this works. Yeah, so it doesn't seem to actually work, that one. I tried it before and it said something about this is for internal use only or something, I don't know. A bit weird. Charging availability, again, this doesn't seem to work, at least near me. If this works somewhere else, please do drop a note in the comments because I'd love to find out more about how this works. But whenever I do it, it just comes up with a question mark for each station near me, so it doesn't seem to track live data. Obviously, update stations, you can, exactly like it was on the other screen, you can have pull the information about stations that are nearby to you. And just make sure you're keeping the system up to date. You also got the NissanConnect EV record, so every time you run that, it actually saves them here, so you can kind of replay that. And the NissanConnect EV screen is similar to what we've already seen. So you got the email notifications settings that we saw before. You've got the ability to automatically update charging stations periodically, which is probably well worth leaving on. General notifications, don't quite know what that turns on and off. If you know, drop something in the comments below. Information channel settings, you can have it kind of download the updates automatically. I guess so you don't have to wait, which I guess would probably make it a little bit more useful. Maybe I'm just using it wrong. Data upload settings, you have the ability to stop sharing your information with Nissan. However, if you did this, I'm reasonably sure you won't be able to get the stats in the app, and you might lose other telematics functionality. You might lose the ability to remotely charge, I'm really not sure. And then also you've got some unit ID information which shows some ID numbers about your specific vehicle, so I'll probably have to grey out some of those, but you know, you get the idea. Under vehicle you get the energy usage again, which is there's about 4 ways to get to this screen. I don't know why they've put so many different triggers for the same thing. You got a where am I thing, which if you're on the road it will show you. I'm currently in a car park outside of McDonald's, so I'm not really on a proper street, so that's probably why it's a little bit confused. Climate and audio control, so as you mess around with the climate controls you can kind of see those settings down here, and they mess with the buttons. You see that all the various things happen. Now the banner across the top will count no matter what screen you're on, but if you want to come and check, I guess you can come in here, but honestly, you can just turn it off and on again, and it'll tell you most of the time what's going on. So I don't really use this screen at all. Traffic information, you've got the ability to look up nearby traffic issues, which is kind of cool. So if I look at that one there, so you can see that over in Gisborne there's some roadworks on the road over to Stokesley, and you can kind of read through that information. And it shows you kind of a stretch of road as well where that's affected, which is kind of handy as well. You can go zoom out and see that's actually affecting quite a large stretch of that road. Interesting stuff. So if we head back and back again, really hard controlling this through the phone, like with my hand the other side of the phone. Weather forecast doesn't seem to work for me. Also, yeah, just the weather screen doesn't seem to work. I'm guessing that's not supported in the UK. I'm really not sure. Again, if that works in your area, then keep me posted. So yeah, if that works in your area, maybe just drop a note in the comments. Let me know how that works. I'm quite interested in seeing what I can't use as much as what I can use, because obviously some of these screens may be active in other areas, and it might be useful for people to know how they work. Charging station info, again, we've seen that before. And then you've got some version information about the software in the NissanConnect EV unit. So you can see it's actually the same map data from the previous generation 16-17 Leaf, which makes sense because this feels pretty much exactly like the system there, just with the buttons on the outside of the unit arranged a little bit differently. Right, so if you scroll over to the next page, we've got the ability to look at the GPS data. You can see it currently we're measuring the position of 10 satellites, because probably the system's been on for a while and it's had a chance to discover them all. And then we show you latitude, longitude and your estimated altitude. Yeah, there's not really a lot more to be said. That it knows where you are. You got triggers to get into Apple Carplay and Android Auto, but there's no real need to trigger those directly, because it'll automatically launch you into them if you connect your device, unless you turn that off. We've also got help, which basically says just plug your phone in. It's the most basic help ever, but I suppose for some people that may be a useful guide. Things seem to be a bit more complicated on the Android side. I mean, I've got an iPhone, so it's literally just plug in and you're away. I assume that's how it works on Android, but I don't have an Android phone, so I can't really test that. The menu screen, or the home screen in the middle, is defaults to this sort of layout. We've got this information panel in the middle. This will be your CarPlay or Android Auto button if you've got the system connected, but again, you don't really ever need to press it. You've got shortcuts to various other screens that we've already seen. These are, exactly the same controls as they are on the other screen, just kind of easily accessible from here. Interestingly though, you've got the ability to edit this menu and customize it. So if you let's say you want to move this smartphone connection down there, you can swap that down, or you can delete icons, or you can potentially add new icons as well, I would imagine. I guess some people might want to, let's say you need that cancel route button or the address book button on the home screen. It might be quite handy to have that. Personally, I don't really have any need to mess with this, but I guess it could be useful for some people. Right, so map. This is kind of your standard Nissan sat-nav. I don't really want to go too deep into how all of this works, but it's sat-nav. You can kind of move it around by dragging. It's reasonably responsive. I mean, it's a bit laggy. Sometimes it's a lot smoother than it's being right now. It depends on how much it has to draw, what zoom level you're at and things. But if you're on a zoom, you can just drag the dial on the right up or down. That will kind of zoom appropriately. It's not too bad. It's reasonably responsive. It's better than some other areas of the system for sure. If you want to change, reset your orientation, you can hit the compass, very much like on Google Maps. So I'll give you a top-down view oriented to north, and a kind of rotatable view, I guess. But yeah, let's cancel out there. Right, you also have a map menu where you can kind of do things based around where you are, and if you want to save your current location as a new POI, you can do it just by hitting store location in the top left. You also got some map settings where you can choose what type of map you want. So currently I've got it on the 3D bird view, but you could quite easily have both 2D and 3D. if that's your cup of tea. Don't know, I think that's probably a little bit more than I really care about, so I won't really have that turned on. But you know, if that's your preference, it's there. Yeah. What else we got on the map settings? There's another map settings, so you can actually change the colour. Okay, this is all new to me. I didn't even know this was here. So let's see what colour schemes we've got. So we've got colour 1, colour 2, colour 3, colour 4. There's very subtle changes in the colour, to be fair. That's just sort of like higher contrast version. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, I might mess with that later. Okay, so you can sort of change the angle of the bird's eye view. That's also quite interesting. I didn't even know this setting screen was here. I'm learning stuff just by doing this video. Auto north up zoom. Don't have any idea what that does. You can change the text size, so huge text, small text, or medium text. I think medium is probably fine. What else we got here? Okay, so you can turn off certain text if you find it's a little bit too cluttered, and you've got the ability to automatically show the turn list on motorway. So that's when you're driving on the motorway, it'll have it. Sometimes it will show you the map full screen, and periodically it'll decide to show the map on the right hand side, and on the left hand side it will show you a list of the upcoming turns, with the nearest turn confusingly at the bottom and then the turns beyond further up. I guess that kind of makes sense because you're kind of progressing towards that way, but it confused me at first because I was expecting it to be a top down list like most other lists. I wasn't expecting to start at the bottom, but you know, once you've used it a couple of times, it becomes second nature. Obviously if you've used the Nissan sat-nav system, I'm sure this is all very familiar stuff, and I'm just telling you stuff that's you already know. Under the Navi option, you've got the ability to set destinations. Okay, so let's say I want to find a charging station in Middlesbrough. I can type in MIDD. Okay. Press OK. We'll find. So you could pan that map around and kind of centre on somewhere else if it's not quite where you're wanting the centre of the search to be, but it should find then any charges within a certain range of that. Okay, so that's a few charging stations it found near the town centre. So let's say I want to set a route to that one. I tap on it. It shows me where the destination is. I can alter the location if I want, or I could potentially see route details. Obviously, not all stations open all the time. Sometimes they're behind barriers which close and businesses shut and things like that. But we'll say set as destination because we're happy with that for now, just for the sake of demonstration. So what you can do is hit more routes here, and it will show you kind of different ways to get there. Now, as it's a short journey, there's not a huge amount here, if I'm being totally honest. But you know, you could set on longer journeys, if you wanted to avoid motorways, you could pick minimum motorways. That will generally pick the faster roads. That one will pick the more efficient routes, the ones where I guess where you change speed less, or there's less hills. I'm not really sure. But one thing that I didn't realise was here is it shows you your estimated charge on arrival, and that's reasonably accurate. It's not 100% perfect, and it really depends how you drive. But yeah, it's a good guide all the same. But yeah, if you hit start,
Proceed to the highlighted route.
It'll ask you to go there. It'll ask you to drive to the blue line, and once you hit that blue line, it'll then pick up the navigation. It'll show you down here your estimated time to arrival and the amount of distance remaining. Yeah, that's and then from there on it just works like pretty much any other sat nav. I'm going to go in and I'm going to cancel this route. but you can potentially add detours if there's traffic issues and things like that, or if you want to go via a certain route, you can program that in as well. I'm not going to go into all the details of how to do that, because that's probably going to make for a mega boring video, but yeah. Right, okay, so the settings screen, I'm going to go through this reasonably quickly because I imagine it's going to be pretty boring, but let's have a quick look through. So Bluetooth, you've got the ability to change the device name of the car if you really wanted to, and you've got the Bluetooth MAC address shown there, and you also got the ability to then pair with a Bluetooth device. Now, obviously, I have no interest in actually connecting Bluetooth, so I'm just going to cancel out of there. But if you've got, say, an older phone that doesn't support Apple Carplay or Android Auto, you could set that up there. Under navigation, you've got some settings for the sat-nav system. So you've got the address book, so you can change your store addresses. If there's an entire area you want to avoid, you can program that in. So say you want to avoid the M25 or Dartford or somewhere, you could program that in, and it will generally try and avoid that. Your map settings, we've kind of looked at this already. You've got the ability to handle split screen and whatnot. Fancy. So you've got the ability to change various split screen options. Your map settings, which we looked at before. A lot of these screens are available, like the same settings are in multiple places. You can turn off various POI icons if you feel that they're getting in the way. Generally, you probably want them all on. Your guidance volume, that allows you to change various how loud the volume is. You can also do that by just pressing these buttons on the steering wheel while the sat-nav lady is talking. If you do it while obviously you've got your music playing, your music playing in the background, it'll adjust the volume in the music. But as soon as she talks, you can use that to turn the volume up and down. Again, there seems to be separate volumes for the sat-nav, the Siri on CarPlay, and also the radio volume. They all seem to be sort of independent volumes, I believe. If someone can correct me on that, feel free. If that's not quite right, just drop a note in the comments. You've got the ability to turn the guidance voice off completely. You've got the ability to turn off the traffic announcements, and you can change how the junction guidance works. So you could have level 1, which is just audio. Level 2. Okay, right. So that one's probably going to be a chime. That one is chime, and audio. Or speech, and then a chime, and then a chime. Speech, or speech. Okay, I think I'll put that back to level 3, which is just what I'm used to. The route timing will show you the... okay, so if you had a waypoint, it will show you the time to that waypoint rather than your final destination. I'm going to set that to waypoint because that's probably how I'll use the system. But if let's say you were doing a multi-hop journey, it could tell you either the final arrival time or the arrival to your next waypoint. I think the next waypoint probably makes the most sense to me. And the bottom 2, I've not been through any turbos, so I don't know how that works. And certainly in the places I've been, I've not had any warning about not being able to overtake. But obviously the road signs have told me about that. You can change what your default search criteria is. I'm going to stick with fast. And you've got more detailed route settings where you can kind of turn off, I don't know, ferries or toll roads and things like that. There's the ability to set your traffic information. You can have manual providers? I have no idea. So yeah, I guess if you're in a region where there's more than one traffic information provider, you can set that here. I'm pretty sure here we just uses INRIX, but because normally if I just back out at the bottom of the map screen, we get INRIX UK showing up there. So I'm assuming that's who it uses for the traffic data. What other settings we got here? Safety guide settings. Okay, so you've got the ability to hide the speed limit warnings and these safety camera warnings. Probably want to leave those on. You've got the ability to make this dial less sensitive when scrolling. Settings for the quick stops. Right, okay, so I guess it's got rapid settings for these types of things. That makes sense. Ah, okay, so you can kind of leave a trail of dots. That's interesting. Okay, I'll probably leave that off, but that's interesting. Adjust current location. I have no idea why you'd want to do that. Surely you just want to go with what the satellite says. You've got the ability to delete various things and to just do a kind of a factory reset of the sat-nav system. Okay, so on the display you've got the ability to change the brightness, contrast and the background colour. Now the background colour actually just sets it between sort of day and night mode. So what you could do is in night time, you can have that in night mode, and in daytime have it in day mode, which is actually probably what I want, because I've noticed that screen is blindingly bright at night, so I definitely want that to be to adjust in the day and the night. So if I turn the lights off, there you go. So now if I adjust the lights, you'll see that it toggles appropriately. That's probably a lot closer to what I actually want, if I'm being totally honest. Why isn't it that way by default? Okay, so on this screen you've got the ability to turn the clock off in the top right. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that. You've got the ability to actually mess with the clock settings. Now this is not setting the time, this is skewing the time. One thing that I noticed that was off by default was summertime was set to off, it wasn't set to auto. Now we just literally this weekend changed into summertime, so changing that to auto fixed that, and it kind of picked up that we were in summertime. So I guess that probably should be on auto from the factory. I'm not really sure why it isn't, but you know. Anyway, in terms of sound, I have my sound system adjusted like this. Bass is generally, if you set the bass to here or here, honestly, you're not even going to miss the Bose sound system. The response from the system is actually surprisingly good for, I guess what's advertised as kind of basic standard sound. It's actually really good. I didn't expect it to be this good. I was quite disappointed when I found out the 2.0 didn't have the Bose audio, but having actually got the car, I don't miss the Bose audio. Obviously I don't know what it sounds like with the Bose, but I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay, so we were talking earlier about the different volume levels, and there's the demo of the fact that there's actually quite a few different volume controls here. Oh wow, there's loads. One thing I turned off pretty early on was this button beep, because that got so annoying, where for every single time you pressed anything it beeped. I just did my head in, I couldn't deal with it. So you know, not everything needs to beep, so I turned that off pretty quickly. You've got edit menu, which obviously shows you the same edit menu thing you get on the home screen. NissanConnect EV is the exact same setting screen from NissanConnect EV we saw from earlier on, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. Language, if you prefer kilometers, this is where you get to set that, but I prefer that in miles, so I will leave that there. Don't know why it's under language, it's a bit weird. Android Auto. If you don't want Android Auto to kick in as soon as you plug in your phone, you can turn that off there. Probably you want that left on though. Voice well, let's go to Apple Carplay first. So again, you got the same kind of information there of do you want to always start Apple Carplay, and the startup information is basically the first time you use it, it gives you a bit of a guidance on how to use it, and if you want to turn that on again, you can do that by that screen. If you want, you can minimize the voice feedback during voice recognition. To be honest, I don't use a voice recognition at all. I use Siri for doing stuff. I don't use the car's inbuilt one because it's so bad compared to Siri. Stick to Siri. Right, so I think that is a pretty comprehensive whistle-stop tour of the NissanConnect EV system. So I'm sure most of you are extremely bored and have turned off this video long ago, but if you have watched this all the way through to the end, congratulations for making it this far. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.